Hello, you're with India Post Live, India's first live and interactive news conversation web TV. And I'm Prachi Jatania. We are talking about INS Vikrant, India's first aircraft carrier, or the HMS Hercules, which was commissioned way back into the Indian Navy in the 1960s, is all slated to be sold as scrap and dismantled at the Mazgaon docks. Part of India's historic 1971 war, the INS Vikrant has been used as a naval museum since 2001. What really happened and what are people doing, activists and naval historians, and in fact retired naval community officers are also trying to save the Vikrant. What really can be done? We find out why. Take a look.
Right from protecting our territorial borders to entertaining children about the Indian Navy, aircraft carrier INS Vikrant has donned many caps. But there comes a time when the mind wins over the heart. Indian Navy has sold the carrier for over $1 million to a private company to be scrapped. This has come after Maharashtra government told the Bombay High Court that it cannot pay for her upkeep. She was converted into a naval museum and is popular among the students in Mumbai. It had played a stellar role in the naval blockade of East Pakistan in 1971, which eventually led to creation of Bangladesh.
There is no margin for error, no room for mistakes.
10th of April saw 200 defense correspondents seeking immediate government intervention as they believe the carrier has great historical importance. The onus is now on a political class on whether INS Vikrant should be broken down and sold as scrap or preserved as Indian War Memorial.
So it is all set. It was sold for about 63 crores to a private firm, a shipbreaking firm called the IB Commercial in Mumbai. To take the conversation forward, we have some esteemed company in the studio. We have Professor Makhan Lal, who is a senior fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation and also a historian. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have retired Commodore Rajan Veer, who is on Skype video call with us. He's from the Indian Maritime Foundation and joins us from Pune. Thank you so much, Commodore Sir, for sharing your thoughts and for joining us at this crucial juncture for the INS Vikrant. We'll come to you with a few questions, but first, Professor, I wanted to ask you the foremost question. Why was it sold as scrap? It was being used and maintained by the Maharashtra state government, all this while as a naval museum. What really made them go forward with this kind of a proposal?
You see, first let me thank you for organizing this debate. It's shocking that such a incredible thing should happen in this country. Newspapers don't take it up. Mainstream channels don't take it up. TVs don't take it up. As if pride of the country, as if the heritage of the country, as if the sacrifice of the people of this country has no meaning. It is absolute nonsense to say that government does not have money to maintain a pride thing, something called Vikrant. It was a naval museum. Now they want to scrap it. So first my allegation is, find out how much underhand money was paid to sell this particular ship, number one. Number two, why should in this country we not have something called museums, something called memorials? Tell me, since 1947 till date, is there a single war memorial? Is there a single memorial for our army? Is there a single memorial for naval? Is there a single memorial for air chief? Why? We take pride in India Gate. Do we know India Gate? Who are the martyrs? Those who gave their life defending British Empire in First World War. Under no circumstances, it was lot of debate went on, and that time also I said that Vikrant should be converted into museum. Let the people know about the naval history of this country, where historical things could be restored and preserved and also shown right from the time of Cholas when their armies went to Far East, and also the naval kind of achievement during the Harappan civilization. Now, this is a shocking thing that when you have several thousands crores, means Arabs of rupees, to be gone down the drain in Manrega, this, that, and so on.
Right.
And going down the drain every year in the Bombay drain in the name of cleaning the drains.
Right.
You don't have the money to
preserve
this heritage.
Right.
I think very serious debate needs to take place in this country
Right.
about this issue.
We might probably be a little late from what I was speaking to Commodore Sir last evening. Commodore retired Rajan Veer from the Indian Maritime Foundation was telling me that it just take about a few days now because the ship has already moved into the Mazgaon docks at at the ship breaking area there, Darukhana. Sir, could you shed some light on what were the reasons for the state government and the Indian Navy to moot this kind of putting away the Vikrant as scrap, sir?
Well, if you may go back for the time when the Vikrant was decommissioned, that was more than almost 15 years ago, and the Navy has been waiting for some decision to be taken for it to be converted into a maritime museum. In the meantime, the Navy then on its own converted it into a naval museum in the hope that the money will be sanctioned. And at that time, from what I gather, it was only 100 crores which was required, and then later on, a few years later, it was 200 crores, which is really quite peanuts, absolutely, for this. It seems, well, if I recall, it was the Shiv Sena government in Maharashtra at that time, and assurance was given by that government that this ship will be converted into a maritime museum in the Sassoon dock area, out at sea. The ship has to be grouted in the ground, and so it could not have gone on without any decision having been taken. So ultimately, it was a very reluctant decision. Obviously, it has been taken that the ship has to be scrapped because the ship is in the water. It cannot go on. It has to be refitted, and it costs a lot of money to do that. And so the decision has been taken to scrap it. And I happened to be in Darukhana 2 days ago to pick up some artifacts for a maritime museum which we are setting up, small museum we are setting up in Pune. And it was there that I gathered that the ship has been sold. It was a very sad news. And I also learned that it was going to be scrapped, broken up in Darukhana area and the ship is likely to move there at the next high tide. So the decision has been taken, and I don't think we can do much about this, except people like myself. I have served on the Vikrant in the first commission when we brought it out from Belfast, from the UK in 1961.
Right, sir.
And I have served again as the direction officer 3 years later. So people like us can only shed tears because of the emotional attachment we have with the ship. There's nothing much else we can do, and we feel sad that in this country we are totally insensitive, as Professor Sabha just brought out. We are totally insensitive to preserving our heritage and history and so on. We simply don't care. People sitting up in Delhi, they're too far away from the sea. Probably that's the reason, because they don't understand the importance of the sea and the importance of preserving our maritime heritage. So it truly is a very sad day for us.
Sir, I wanted to know a little bit about the history and what a crucial role INS Vikrant has played, the first aircraft carrier of its kind to be a part of the Indian Navy and part of the 1971 war. Sir, if you could relive those memories, and you have a very close attachment to the ship because you've served on it. So if you could just take us back through that journey, sir.
Yes, thank you. It was, I think it was Admiral Mountbatten who convinced Mr. Nehru that we should have a balanced navy, and to do so we should have an aircraft carrier. So Hercules, which was a ship, it had never seen action in the Second World War, but there were 3 or 4, I think about 4 aircraft carriers were mothballed and put away after the war. And then one ship went to Australia, another one to Canada, and then this Hercules was sold to India, and it was practically a brand new ship. It was completely fitted out from scratch, except the hull itself, which had been mothballed. And the work was done, the fitting out was done at the Holland and Wolff's shipyard in Belfast, and it took about 3 years to do so, and it was commissioned in 1961. And Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, Mrs. Pandit, who was the High Commissioner in the UK, she came to Belfast, I remember, and she accepted the ship. I happened to be the officer of the guard or the guard commander on that day, and I played that role later on also when the ship was, while it was working up in Portsmouth. Admiral Mountbatten, who was then the chief of the defense staff, he came on board and and inspected the guard with the guard commander and walked around the ship, and he was very pleased to do that. And when the ship arrived in India a few months later, remember that we were learning how to fly aeroplanes from ships at that time, and we had a workup team on board, and our pilots and the crew, they did remarkably well.
Right.
Admiral Captain Mahindra was the captain of the ship at that time. The ship came to arrived at the ballot pier in India, and who was there to receive it but Mr. Nehru himself? He came on board, and it was a great event that day for the Indian Navy and for India that we had acquired our first aircraft carrier.
Right, sir. I just wanted to bring in the historic perspective. Professor, you were telling us that it was crucial. It played a big role in the war against East Pakistan in the 1971 war, and it was an important part of our sea preparedness at that time, our sea-led attack. Could you just tell us briefly how important it is to our history, and what are we going to lose out?
You see, let me put it in not symbolically, by practical terms. When we talk about Navy, when we talk about our war preparedness and bordering areas along our coast, look at what had happened in Bombay with terrorist attack, people coming up, landing there at Bombay, somewhere at India Gate, going into Taj Palace Hotel, going to Victoria Terminus, going to here and there. Look, this is individual effort. If we have become so porous by a few individual efforts, think of a well-prepared Navy. If it launches, where do we stand? It's very frightening situation, and I'm very unhappy the way Defense Ministry has worked for last 10 years. Probably we had most honest, but at the same time, most incompetent Defense Minister ever this country had. Being honest is something very good, but being completely incompetent is disastrous for the army. Look at, every time you are hearing the fire into the submarines, you are hearing problems into army. You are hearing all the time that our army, air force, everything is unprepared.
So clearly there is a lack of leadership and lack of will on the part of both the ministry and the state government, especially the Maharashtra government, because they seem to have enough funds to be, planning a gigantic statue in the middle of the sea for Shivaji, but not being able to really preserve a part of our naval history.
You see, they have enough money to build the statues. I have no problem with that. They have enough money to clean every year. Several thousand crores goes to the drain cleaning in Bombay. But they have no money for few hundred crores for heritage of the country. That clearly shows they are more interested in plundering the country. They are more interested in dividing the country. They are more interested in destroying the country rather than preserving its heritage. And I am very sorry that in any country which is not prepared to defend itself, right from Rigvedic time till date, it has been said, if you cannot live in peace, in terms of sleep in peace, thinking that your borders are safe, you are not safe at all. You can be destroyed any time. And a few individuals showed it in Bombay, what they can do, and that is what our Navy is all about.
I'll just read out a few tweets on our Twitter handle. We are getting a lot of feedback on this discussion and the conversation. Hashtag at India Post Live. Sarab Chadda says, India a fighter, India a nation maker, but the Vikrant is sold for 60 crores. What a pity for our history. It was a historic thing, and this is what we have lost. Also there is, there are a lot of reactions coming. Nobody has failed us. Chandrasekhar Ray says, we failed ourselves. Our men in uniform will be caught like sitting ducks if we continue to fail to preserve our part of our history. So a lot of voices and comments coming in. Do take the conversation forward on our website at indiapostlive.com and our Twitter handle. I will just get a quick word from Commodore Rajanveer. Sir, I wanted to know that in terms of being able to continue the upkeep of INS Vikrant, there were difficulties, there were security issues, there wasn't enough space in the tidal basin, they were told, in terms of the harbour area for the Western Naval Command. But we were able to have a good example in Vizag with INS Kursura, which is which was turned into a naval museum, a submarine. It served for 31 years and then was actually taken over by the state government in Andhra Pradesh, and now in Vizag it's making profits. It's a good venture. It encourages students and ordinary citizens to be able to actually see what life is on a submarine. It was also part of our history, and it's doing very well in terms of being able to maintain and sustain it as a naval museum. So what really went wrong, you feel, in terms of doing the same, replicating the model for INS Vikrant?
Well, it's very difficult to say what went wrong there, because the Navy had been pressing all the time, and being a first aircraft carrier, it would have been the fitness of things that it was preserved, and especially it had done extremely well. It had played an important role in the 1971 war, and it should have been preserved. But in spite of the Navy trying to do getting the state government and the government of India to agree to set up a museum, their efforts obviously have failed. You are absolutely right about INS Kursara, the submarine which has been built. It's a unique museum, and many thousands of people, they go and see it every day, and the people who have put up that museum, it was a unique, very difficult operation to do that, and they have been awarded. They have received an award from the World Ship Trust of the UK, who look at the heritage of ships, the old historic ships which can be preserved, and they have received an award for doing that. It was a very creditable thing that it has happened. It's a pity, it's a shame that we have not been able to do that with Vikrant, which should have happened. But
Right.
it seems it's too late now.
Right, sir. Just last thoughts from you. You are disappointed, you are unhappy because you have a deep emotional connection and a history with INS Vikrant. Any last ditch efforts? 200 defense journalists have signed a petition. Do you feel such efforts will change the mind of the state government or the defense ministry?
Yes, well, you are making a great effort, and it's a very laudable thing which you are doing today. Well, all these decisions can be reversed, of course. The ship has not gone in for a scrap yet. Of course, it can be done. And let this be an example that a decision like this can be reversed and the ship can still be saved. Of course, it can be done. So and I will support the efforts that you are making, that the ship should be saved if it is possible to do that, even at this stage.
Right. Thank you so much, Commodore Sir of the Indian Maritime Foundation, for taking out time and sharing your thoughts and how you have a deep connection with the ship, and possibly, we can only hope and keep our fingers crossed about what next happens and the future of the INS Vikrant. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with India Post Live, sir. I just wanted...
for your initiative.
Thank you, sir. Professor, you were going to say something and make a point, if you could share with us.
You see, what has deeply disturbed me is 60 crores rupees price of pride of the country, heritage of the country. This is very disturbing. Look at the budget of a small corporations every year. Go down a little further. Now this is election time. You will find most of the politicians having worth more than this. Are we such poor country? Are we such poor states that for pittance we are going to sell the heritage at every cost? It's not question of money. Tomorrow there is less money. Are you going to sell away National Museum? Tomorrow there is less land. So are you going to demolish Rashtrapati Bhavan? Why this cannot be done?
Right.
Why Rashtrapati Bhavan cannot be converted to multi-storied building?
Right.
There is a lot of problem with the land. You cannot bargain. You cannot sell the heritage. INS Vikrant has to be saved at every cost, and it has to be expanded upon with the entire naval history of India, right from ancient time, that is Harappan times.
Right.
And I'm under great shock at this kind of thing, and people should not be allowed to get away with it.
Right. On this note, I'll also try and tell our viewers, those of you who are watching and joined us on India Post Live, that there is a Facebook page. There is also a petition in the Supreme Court been moved by an activist in Mumbai, and in fact a petition with signature campaign being led on change.org. So you could please go ahead and try and sign that petition and spread the word of trying to save the Vikrant. There's a Facebook community as well that is trying trying to gather awareness and support to be able to try and save and restore this piece of our naval history. We also have another guest on Skype joining us, Major General G.D. Bakshi, who will be sharing with us his thoughts on how let down or disappointed, sir, are you? Thank you for joining us in India Post Live. But how disappointed are you that a part of our naval history is sold for scrap and no efforts really are paying off in being able to preserve it?
I'm deeply, deeply disappointed. The Vikrant has a tremendous history. Please don't forget the fact that it had played a stellar role in the 1971 war with Pakistan, which had led to the creation of Bangladesh. This is the ship, which the Pakistanis had tried to sink by sending in their Ghazi submarine to Vishakhapatnam. That submarine was sunk, and this ship and its flotilla went out, and then it bombed Chittagong, and it assisted our ground forces in liberating huge swathes of Bangladesh. It played a major role in sea control, and it just cut off the east and the west wings of Pakistan. And the fact is that it was being maintained so far by the Maharashtra state government as a museum, to which the children used to go, to which the people of the country used to go and visit this ship and, revive those memories and see for themselves. It is pathetic that we are allowing a piece of our military history to be just sold for scrap. I mean, that means you don't need national museums, you don't need military museum. As it is, you haven't constructed a national war memorial. I mean, you have been trying to save money. You expect people to die for you, but you want to save money by not building a war memorial. And if you want to build a war memorial, you want to put it out of sight. There are people in this present government who felt very bad that why is a war memorial being built near India Gate? It sort of disfigures that bloody place as far as these people are concerned. The whole attitude in this country is to shun the armed forces out of their minds, to treat them as pariahs, to call them, to heap human rights abuses on them, call them killers, rapists. This is the only country which does so. It is a mindset. And I'm very sorry to state it's a very rotten mindset. To use your soldiers in war, to get them killed, to get them wounded, to have them without limbs, and then let loose the bloody bureaucracy on them and, humiliate them, insult them, and try and efface their bloody memory on the basis of some sort of bloody newfangled pacifism that this government is trying to preach.
General Bakshi, sir, I just wanted your view. I would like to play the devil's advocate for a minute here. I was told that there were several factors. It wasn't practical to maintain and upkeep because neither the state government seemed to be interested, nor was the Defence Ministry or the Western Naval Command in Mumbai able to really take efforts to try and preserve it as a naval museum. Secondly, I was told that the harbour area does not have space for such a large aircraft carrier, which is actually, not in a very good condition. The maintenance wasn't going well, so they did not have space. They wanted to move it away to another side of the harbour area, but there weren't really a coordinated effort by the state government and the Defence Ministry as such. So do you feel that it was impracticality that could have led to this?
Look, I have visited the Vikrant in its avatar as a museum. It was perfect. I saw nothing wrong. It was a wonderful experience to walk that hallowed deck, and from which the Elise aircraft, the Seahawks, had taken off on their bombing missions, and how it had faced down the 7th Fleet of the United States. I have been to this ship, by the way, at this floating museum.
Right.
The Western Naval Command has no funds to buy its own batteries. How do you expect the Western Naval Command to do it? And quite obviously, they had requested the state government of Maharashtra to do it, and they had been doing it so far. Now, in any other country, the state government would have felt happy to do this. Government spends crores of money on maintaining war cemeteries, war graves, war memorials, except this country,
Right.
which wants to use its soldiers and forget them. It is not the job of the Navy to try and safeguard this as a museum. They don't have the funds. They are desperately trying to get their submarines replacements for their old kilo submarines, which are 26, 27 years old, 28 years old. They're not getting batteries. They are having accidents Now you expect the Navy to pay for their own, museum, and tomorrow you will expect the Army to pay for its own, war memorial. If there's a national war memorial required, you will ask the Army to do it, or the Air Force or the Navy to do it.
So
Shell
clearly,
out money from
cle-
their pressing military requirements, and sort of, this nation is, I think, reaching a level which is very dangerous. Samuel Huntington is one of the greatest military experts, or one of the greatest experts on civil military relations. He talks of something called soldier society covenant. That the society tells the soldier, look, we expect you to die for us. We expect
right,
you to go wherever sent by land, sea, or air, to
right,
get killed if necessary, to get wounded, to lose your arms, legs, limbs, but you fight for the country, and we in turn will ensure that we give you honor, we give you izzat, we give you respect, we look after your family, and when you are wounded, we don't try and fight for your bloody pension,
right, sir.
your disability pension.
Right, sir.
This is what the babus of this ministry are doing, taking these wounded soldiers to court and trying to fight them because they feel they have more government money to spend on these trials than these poor soldiers. And
Right.
our soldiers have died trying to fight, trying to get their pension from this beastly government that we've got.
Right, sir. Sir, you are
And it
quite
hurts.
upset. You are,
Hurts
yes,
all
you're
of us
hurt.
veterans
You are
to
hurt,
see
you're
this
disappointed.
attitude.
Right, sir.
The soldier society covenant in this country, I'm very sorry to state, is completely breaking down.
Right, sir. Sir, I understand your sentiments at this point, sir, and you are part of our history. You have shaped what we have, our military history. Thank you so much for joining us at the conversation on India Post Live and sharing your views and your very strong sentiment against the lack of political will in our country in terms of preserving military history. Thank you, Major General Retired G.D. Bakshi, for his thoughts. You can also share your views. We have another quick caller who is actually the activist who moved the Bombay High Court, Mr. Kiran Paigarkar. He was supposed to join us on Skype video call, but we'll try and get him again. He's the one who moved the Bombay High Court to make the effort to try and save the Vikrant. He's also leading a community on his Facebook page. He's now moved the Apex Court to try and see if last-ditch efforts can be made to save the INS Vikrant, India's first aircraft carrier, a very crucial role that it played in the 1971 war. A piece of our history really being lost here. It was used as a naval museum till 2012 when the Maharashtra state government and the Western Naval Command of the Indian Navy in Mumbai said that it was very difficult due to security and maintenance issues that it would actually have to sell and auction the INS Vikrant for scrap. What really will happen next? Do you feel all these efforts will have any impact in actually being able to convince the government both at the center and the state? It's election time. Do you feel anybody will show any willingness? The members of parliament there in Maharashtra or in Mumbai could actually try and make some effort to have a hearing with our defense minister. Do you feel all these efforts will have any kind of an impact?
I'm sure that I'm sure what we need to do. Unfortunately, in last 25 years, the government of India, let it be of any government, let it be of any party, it has become partly deaf, meaning thereby it rarely hears the reasoned voice, it rarely hears the argument which is in low voice, it only understands the shouting, it only understands the mob, it only understands when people go to court and really raise their pitch. What is very important is we have to raise our pitch, we have to raise our voice, and we have to see to it that all politicians, those who are on Twitters, those who are on Facebook, those who are on this kind of thing, they should know and we should force them to reply, number one. Number two, lack of money, shortage of money, with Navy, I understand. With Army, I understand. But with the government, it's humbug. You have to prioritize the thing. You can build thousands of drains, you can build thousands of this kind of house, that kind of house. You can go for scrapping loans in, what you call Arab sab crores. But you don't have money for the maintaining heritage. Priority has to take place. You can build the houses for poor people tomorrow also. You can do the things on loan tomorrow also. But if the heritage is lost, you cannot recreate. Heritage has to be preserved as it is, because recreation is not the nature of law
Right.
when it comes to heritage.
Right.
Therefore, this priority has to be
Right.
on this.
We have to prioritize in trying to save our heritage. We have Mr. Kiran Paigankar, who has finally been able to join us via Skype. So thank you for joining us at India Post Live at the conversation about saving the INS Vikrant. Very quickly, your thoughts, sir. We are towards the end of our discussion. How have you managed to move the Supreme Court this time around? What will be the last ditch efforts for you to try and save INS Vikrant? Mr. Kiran, can you hear us? Okay, I think we seem to have an audio problem. We'll try and get back to that.
please speak.
It seems, it seems that now the petition has moved the apex court, but I've been speaking to a lot of experts in the field who are very close to observing the Navy in Mumbai, especially, who say that it was the petition that Mr. Paigankar has put in Bombay High Court is not very strong. It seems to be a little weak in terms of the backing he has given of facts, of funding, etc. that would be needed to continue the Vikrant as a naval museum. Do you feel that we are running out of time and we won't be able to try and save the Vikrant, because in a few days when there is high tide in the Darukhana in Mazgaon docks, Mumbai, it will actually be dismantled?
You see, what happens is, Vikrant is not a legal issue in terms of property dispute, in terms of a loan, in terms of a flat, that legal documents are less, this kind is that. Vikrant is heritage. For that heritage, it's self-proven. You don't need a document. Tomorrow you want to build a memorial for Bhagat Singh, do you have to convince the court and do you have to produce n number of documents that he is a great martyr of this country?
Right.
It has to be accepted. It is accepted and matter should end there.
Right.
Vikrant is part of heritage. Anyone little knowledge knows this. Court should know that. For me, documents are irrelevant.
Great, sir.
The fact that Vikrant exists, it should be allowed to exist.
Okay.
That should where the full stop should be there.
Right.
No legal issues are involved here.
On that note, Professor Makhandal, also several esteemed guests we had sharing their strong sentiments and support for trying to save a piece of our naval history, the INS Vikrant. I have signed the petition led by Mr. Himanshu Pandey on change.org. You can also log in on change.org and sign a petition and take forward the campaign to save India's first aircraft carrier, the INS Vikrant. Thank you for joining us. Please keep the conversation going on our Twitter handle, #IndiaPostLive, and our website. We want to hear from you. Thank you and goodbye.